You're going to
And we
record?
are live.
Okay.
Well, hello, Andres, and hello, Dr. Chanani, and welcome to today's LinkedIn Live. I'm so glad you're here with me today and with our community. And to our audience, whether you're joining live or watching the replay, thank you for being here. We really appreciate your time. And feel free to share your thoughts. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat board. We'll see them and we'll try to answer them as much as we can. So as we reach the last quarter of the year, how are we all feeling? The start of fall, yes. More importantly, this month, September, is National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And as a mental health advocate, I care deeply about this subject, and so does everyone in Me Time Healing's care team. Today, we have Andres Jordan and Dr. Swati Chanani here with me, and we are going to talk about preventative care. We're going to talk about innovation. And most importantly, we're going to talk about how AI in mental wellness plays a big role, and what does it mean to innovators such as Andres and physicians, medical doctors such as Dr. Chanani. So Andres, I'll start with you to kick off.
Sure.
Please share what you think about AI in mental wellness. What does it mean to you based on your journey, and why this topic is urgent for leaders and organizations today?
Sure. Okay. Hopefully, I'll remember all three. But listen, to me, AI is it's like I was born in the internet space, right? I was one of the early developers of the internet, and it's become it was a tool that's changed the world, and I think AI is going to change the world. And in this specific case, I think it's will be very powerful because you'll be able to. At the end of the day, I think AI will be able to enhance the power of healthcare providers by providing data and metrics, right? And also, I think it'll be able to basically customize and personalize services, which I think is very powerful, right? And in this space, especially in the healthcare, as we know, mental health
will be very powerful because you'll be able to.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, it's okay. It's very important to be aware that there's a human. If any space really out of everything that AI is going to affect in this space, the human element is so important, right? The human element always has to have the primacy. AI is below, right? So always. And we don't want leaders and business leaders to think that AI is an all purposeful tool in this space that loses the human touch. That just simply can't happen, because humans have an ability, complex thoughts and empathy and all these characteristics that makes us good humans, and that AI can't do, and I don't think I'll ever be able to do. So we got to be careful on how to use it, how to deploy it, but it's very powerful. The data behind all this is very powerful, and it can become if used wisely, it can become a competitive advantage for a lot of companies, special institutions that deploy solutions, solutions like the one you have, right? So yeah, I'll stop there. Those are my initial thoughts.
Thank you. Dr. Chanani, so what is your take on this?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me here for today to talk about this. I agree with Andres. I think AI is so promising kind of in general, but particularly for healthcare, particularly for mental health. I really think of AI as a way to help us as like mental health care providers, right? I'm a psychiatrist, be more efficient with our jobs. I think of AI as like reducing a lot of like the administrative burden that we have to do that I think can lead to a lot of burnout in our field. And so I think of it as like helping with efficiency, helping like just take care of a lot of tasks that, basically I don't want to do so I can focus on patient care. And I really think of it, I also do a lot of work in education and training of like future psychiatrists. And I really see it as really enhancing my ability to do that, helping kind of streamline, my didactics, helping me work on things like learning objectives for my students. I think it helps with that. And so I think it's great. And then as Andres was saying too, I do think having more data, having more metrics, particularly for we do a lot of work telehealth nowadays. It's very convenient for patients. And I think there's a lot we can learn from data that AI can help us both, like generate and analyze. So I'm really hopeful of how we can kind of incorporate this into our work.
Yeah. Many leaders worry about human touch being lost, and Andre just mentioned it. How can AI enhance rather than replace the human connection in mental health care, Dr. Chanani?
Yeah. Well, one of the first things I think about, one of the things that I think sometimes gets in the way of human touch is documentation, right? There's a lot of documentation that I'm required to do as a psychiatrist. And there's so many of us who turn to like doing it during the appointment because we're so crunched for time, and doing it while like having your laptop there while you're talking to your patient. And we actually, now there are AI tools that will do your documentation for you, right? You open up your phone and it does your note for you, and it's just there in the background. It's all HIPAA protected. So I don't have to have my computer there. I can actually focus on my patient. I don't have to be sidetracked by this like documentation that I have to do. So I think that really helps enhance the human touch by like taking away that computer screen that I need to have. And I think similarly, just there, there's other administrative tasks that like bog down my time that, make me just give me less time to spend with the patients and the families I take care of. So if AI can do those, and it's surprisingly good actually with some of this, and it's still in its early stages, then I think that will help me really just be able to focus on the patient care and the patient that I'm taking care of. So
Yeah, I'm also in ophthalmology world. So even in
yeah.
ophthalmology world, they're bringing AI as scribes for doctors. They're being, introduced in various electronic healthcare systems, and it just facilitates everything, and helps the doctors with shared time. They can focus on their patients, and they can focus on the care that they're giving instead of documenting. So I think it's a great tool, and it should be used properly. So bias in AI models is a hot topic. We all know that. How might cultural or demographic bias in AI affect employmental wellness programs, and what safeguards should organizations look for and apply?
Yeah, and
This
I
is
think
for you, Swati.
yeah, I think this is such a tricky topic. I do think AI companies are aware of this and are trying to build, their, and I'm not a computer programmer. I don't know how this stuff works, but like, I do think they're trying to take that into account. I do think, if you are asking AI to help you with things like creating an employee wellness program or creating any kind of therapeutic strategy, I think you need a clinician to overlook it to make sure that, it is something that is going to work for everyone, particularly for your employees, for your patients, for whoever you're working with. As the demographics you're working with might be different than what AI probably caters to more of kind of a general population. So I really think having a clinician who is familiar with the particular people you're working with to make sure there's not something in there that's not going to land well, right? Like if you are a company that has a lot of women sometimes need different therapeutic techniques, right? And so I think having a clinician kind of also be a part of that and making sure that they're kind of reviewing these things to look for things like bias, to look for things like kind of overgeneralizations that might not work for the particular folks that you're working with.
Makes sense. So if you could design the perfect AI-powered tool for corporate wellness today, what features would it absolutely need to have to be clinically safe and effective, in your opinion?
Yeah, well, and I think for like, corporate wellness, I think some of the things that I think really help are like a tool that can have a lot of kind of self-guided like mindfulness techniques, a tool that can have a lot of self-guided reminders on doing things that we know are good for wellness, right? Like, excuse me.
I know
Sorry,
you're
excuse
not
me.
feeling well today.
Yeah, sorry about that. But tools for reminding you to exercise, to move, to be active, um, reminders for eating well, for eating healthy, and then catering that to what you're actually doing and not doing, right? So I think there are apps that do things like this that have just, okay, here's a reminder to exercise, here's a reminder to eat well, things like that. I think what's nice about AI is it can be catered, like it can be personalized. It can take what you're doing and modify its recommendations based on what will actually work for you, based on what you're actually doing. I think the part that you're alluding to is the safety piece. So I think making sure that those recommendations are therapeutic, right, and not something that could actually negatively impact someone's health. A few years ago, I think when AI first started getting used in this space, there was some concerns about people who had eating disorders, and they might input things into an AI tool that would actually worsen the eating disorder, that the AI might suggest to them how to restrict more or how to do things like that. And so I think having those safe points to check in to make sure those are not the suggestions that are coming up, that the algorithms that they're working with are therapeutic, and not necessarily trying to just like, if this person says, I want to lose weight, that there's like, some checkpoints on that. And for example, right. So
Having the proper safeguards.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything to add, Andre?
To what she said?
Yeah, safeguarding the solution.
Yeah. I mean, in fact, one of the big things, right, is AI does not have empathy, and it cannot read what on a one-to-one counseling session, a practitioner like Dr. Shanani will be able to read where things are going, right? Where there's some pushback on what's being said, and where some pushback on what the feedback that the client is giving you, that AI cannot do. So I just want to make sure that, I mean, there's a lot of other concerns depending on the cultural backgrounds of people. For example, data privacy. I mean, now we can get more into the weeds about from a business perspective, right?
Yeah.
But and some cultures don't care about their data being leaked, right? We do. Our generation does. Although, so yeah.
As a serial entrepreneur, from your standpoint, that's why I'm asking, how should companies assess whether an AI wellness solution is worth adopting?
No, there's tons of opportunity here. So I advise companies on AI and in general, any new technology adoption, right? So the first rule of this is these new technologies that are coming on board are staying. Okay. The internet came and stayed. People were like, well, nobody's going to watch a movie on their iPhones, right? Right. Actually, somebody told me that in 2013. Nobody's going to watch a full movie on an iPhone. I said, oh, okay, sure. So what do people do when they go to bed? They watch a full movie. So AI is here. So the earliest thing that I tell clients is engage immediately. Start playing with the technologies. Yeah. If you don't know what you're doing, if we do an assessment of your behind your firewall, if you do an assessment and you don't have everything structured and you have all these data lakes everywhere, bring somebody in as a consultant, or partner with somebody like you that has already a platform that could be engaged in immediately, right? Of course, there's an evaluation process. There's some pilots that the company will have to do to convince the CEOs or CIOs. But at the end of the day, I think, to me, I'm very big on data, right? Huge in data and data analytics. If companies are not adopting this type of technologies where they can take that data and use it for themselves to improve wellness, right? Then they're losing out already. So it's almost a must. I mean, I hate to put it in those terms, but it is a must. Employee engagement is an all-time low. Stress levels are high. Burnout is an all-time high. And trust me, I know about burnout. It took me a while to get over it. So yeah, that's what I would comment on that question. Yeah.
So what are some red flags you're seeing when new technology, especially AI, is pitched to organization in wellness space and in other industries?
So one thing that I would say is, for an executive team to deploy AI capabilities, be transparent right off the bat. Be very, very transparent. Don't offer solutions that are not real, right? This is not going to cure your depression, or of course we don't know if the person will be depressed or not, but you know what I mean? So don't use buzzwords. Be transparent as to what you're trying to accomplish. And also, I would say, show them the metrics or the metrics that you want to focus on, right? What are the metrics you're going to be looking for, and what are you going to be focused on, right? So maybe one idea would be to say, we're going to be focusing on reducing stress for all of us, right? But be open about it, right? Why stress? Because stress is a leading indicator of further problems, right? So, and that's something that we can all share. We're all stressed out in a certain way. So
who is not?
Yeah, who's not, right?
In this day and age, who's not?
Yeah, who is not? Exactly. And there's so much going on in the world. All these kids, especially young people, are very stressed out. I mean, some of them are very fatalistic as to what's happening with AI. So, don't couch it. Don't be open about it. You know what I mean? Don't say, well, this is going to solve everybody's problems. We just want to work on all of us together to try to reduce stress, including myself, the CEO, or whatever. And we're all going to be part of this. And data security would be there. And yeah, I would say concentrate on those. And it has to be genuine. It can't be about about money. It cannot be about further profit. It has to be about helping your employees.
Yeah, you dipped into my next question a little bit, but let me ask it anyways. How do you see AI in wellness influencing business competitiveness, employee retention, and return on investment in the next 3-5 years?
Yeah, I think we touched on it a little bit. Mm-hmm. I think that's it's becoming a competitive advantage at the end of the day, right? Because if you can somehow through those metrics prove that your solution is working and your employee retention is higher, your employee hiring is higher, your employee engagement is higher. And again, this is where the data and the analytics are very powerful, right? Because if you can reduce, I don't know, let's say we decide we're going to reduce stress by 20%, that's quantifiable, right? I'm all about ROI, right? So if you develop an algorithm that takes this and is able to show, future employees or even investors, listen, we're reducing stress by 20%, which is leading to increased engagement by 30%, right? Or people retaining employee retention, which it's become an issue as well. So it's all about ROI, and organizations, not organizations, but vendors need to show that if they're going to partner, right? They're going to have to say, look, let's partner up on this. You got the whole infrastructure for you. You just plug and play. And here are some of the case studies that we have where your ROI most likely would increase on this investment. And so I think those are the key points right there.
Well, numbers don't lie. We all know.
Yeah.
1 in 5 adults.
Actually, they can lie. They can lie.
Well, 1 in 5 adults live with mental illness. 30% face anxiety disorder. $1 trillion lost annually to depression and anxiety related issues at workplace. So this is big. I mean, we are at the moment that really need to understand the ins and outs of technology and really, take advantage of what's out there, especially with AI. I truly believe in that when it comes to mental wellness. So for startups like Me Time Healing or other innovators, Andres, what's the smartest path to break into partnership with larger organizations or HR tech platforms?
So if I'm so for me, and I've done this, in my career, where I partner up with startups to develop value, right? It's very important to kind of come in at it from a kind of shared risk perspective in a way, right? Yeah. Because at the end of the day, right, if I'm going to hire a vendor, I need to be making sure that all the liabilities that I might be exposed to are either shared or kind of de-risked, right? De-risking is very important in this space, especially when we're talking about treatments for wellness, right? So, by the way, I hate the word mental. I wish we could replace that with mind or something, right? Because there's a negative connotation with mental wellness. But so 3 things that I would look for if a vendor comes to me, said, what's a USP? What's the unique value prop that you're offering me? How quickly can we implement it? What are, in terms of HIPAA, what are the data protection systems you got in place? How we're going to deal with the privacy issues? Demonstrate the ROI. We talked about ROI, right?
Absolutely.
And demonstrate ROI. So for me, is my vendor, I want my vendor to reduce what I call decision obfuscation, right? There's so much to decide, especially in this space, and people are very confused and they're kind of all over the place, right? So reduce that stress for me. Things are kind of dark in certain areas, so make it clear. Bring in the light to those things, right? Reduce the stress or reduce my anxiety about making decisions by saying we're going to do this, and that, and the ROI will be this. So it has to be concise. It has to be kind of tight and concise, right? Because if I'm looking at you, if I'm looking at a vendor, that might probably means that I want to get going faster, and it might mean that I don't have the infrastructure for me to do it myself, right?
Yeah, and that's very open-minded of you, because most companies still treat mental wellness like it's a taboo. They don't even want to touch that. They don't want to talk about it. It's like big liability. I don't want to get involved. But forward-thinking organizations and leaders such as yourself, they always want to be prepared for the next wave, and the next wave is here. So it's always
Absolutely.
To be prepared.
Listen, if you're in the space, if you for example, look at a Meta, right? Meta is crazy looking for offering crazy salaries for people that are in the AI space, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think of creative ways to retain talent, and genuine ways. And to me, offering wellness, and maybe we don't call it mental, health, and call it wellness health or whatever else we can come
behavioral health.
Yeah, behavioral.
That's the other name. That's the other name.
Yeah, exactly. Call something else. Mind wellness, or just spiritual, even spiritual wellness, right? Because everything's connected.
Absolutely.
Mind health is connected with physical health. I mean, that's a proven fact, right? So if a company is open enough to doing it, try to, at the end of the day, a lot of these things, a lot of non-wellness comes from, like I said, from things induced by stress, right? So if you can detect that at the beginning, why not? Yeah. Because that will reduce physical impact, and that means that people are not going to call in sick, right? So there's a cost savings there. So that's the other thing, right? How much of cost can I save? And I guarantee you there's got to be cost savings by doing a program like this. So they have to be open-minded, but also business-minded. It's a business thing. Right?
It's a business decision. Exactly.
Yeah, it is. You're giving people, getting a company the ability to capture this data and use it for competitive analysis, to reduce costs. Why not? I mean, to me, it'd be like, yeah, let's talk. And also, we're doing something good for my people. So, yeah.
So this next question is for Dr. Chanani. What advice would you give to HR leaders who want to integrate AI-powered mental wellness tools into their employee benefit programs without overwhelming their teams?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, it's a great question, Ferry. I think, we want to just, I think like we were talking about earlier, just focus on very specific targets, right? And sorry, excuse me.
Poor thing.
I'm sorry.
Take your time, take your time.
Yeah, just, focusing on, are there programs that can help with things like stress reduction, help with things like promoting mindfulness? And so, looking for like, I think specific targets that will be applicable to like a large number of people and not necessarily trying to do anything that would target like, a specific diagnosis or mental health, because I think that would be very, very tricky. So it would kind of recommend looking for things like that. And again, just focusing on one or two things, or I agree, it would get overwhelming.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to share that we are designing an AI roadmap called Kara. And this is the first time I'm talking about it and introducing it to everyone who has joined us today. So with Kara, our aim is to provide support during the time that our clients are not on one-on-one session. It's a 7-day roadmap. So in between sessions, they can take advantage of this wellness roadmap and feel better. It will give them the extra support that they need, extra resources that they need with meditation or other culturally diverse solutions for them to utilize in order to feel better. So with that in mind, if you are designing a workplace pilot program using AI for mental wellness, what would be the first measurable outcome you would aim for, Dr. Chanani?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I would probably aim for looking at reduced burnout. I think burnout is. I think we had a session about this maybe a few months ago.
Yeah.
I think burnout's becoming a very big problem in the workplace right now, and I think if that could be something that a program like this could help address, I think it would just get so much buy-in and like so much like employee support. So and support from leadership too.
How about you, Andres? What would be your take on that?
So, by the way, I was one of the early testers for Kara, right?
Yes, you were.
Yeah, and I love it. What I like about what you did and what I would look for is, we're all human beings, but we're all not all the same. We're all different, and so something that's customizable to me, it's important and personalized. I mean, personalization is a huge thing. It's a trend that's been going on forever. So I like the fact that something that can customize to my, to my lifestyle, right? And also something that where I can connect with something or someone or a chat box or a human that is more aligned with me culturally. That's also very important. So yeah, that's what I would do. I would also again try to. I think Dr. Shanani mentioned it. Try to address deficiencies in all our lifescape, right, and the things we're doing with every day. I try to address the what things are more generic and then go down into more specifics and more personalized, right? So start with stress or whatever, go deeper into that analytical framework that experts use. I mean, the professionals like Dr. Chanani uses. So that would be for me. Just always thinking, how can I personalize this for this person?
Yeah. So Kara is designed to take the information and reinvent herself and provide new ideas and new resources for the next week. And that's based on the feedback it gets from the user, whether they like it or not. It shifts the solutions and provides new solutions for the following week. So we're very excited about this product. We have piloted. We've asked our friends and family and professional community to test it, and we've gotten great results, great feedback. I'm very excited about this new chapter for me time healing, and it's going to be a wonderful resource, a very innovative resource for our partners and our community. So how can organizations balance data privacy with the need for meaningful insights from AI wellness platforms? Andres, this is for you.
So, there's a framework in business, right, which is anonymize everything, right? Protect everything. Control, access control is very important. So we got to use the same standard things that they're using for everything else, right?
Yeah.
So, and then, but also give people the chance of the right to disappear, right? What is it? I forget the right term that we're using nowadays, but give the the users, your employees, to at some point say, well, I don't want my data to be used anymore. As long, even though it's anonymized, I would want to give my employees that ability if that's what they choose to do, right? But of course, by the time it's anonymized, it's hard to to track. And there's something else called federated learning. So federated learning is where you're training the AI in a way that is not accessing, so it's borrowing the data, but not necessarily taking the data into a central server, right? So there's tricks you can use to maximize the ability for people to understand there's protections in place for the data not to be used, not to be leaked. That one's a very powerful one, where the data is borrowed, is analyzed, but is not taken from a device, for example, a phone or whatever. So there's different things you can do, absolutely. And for that, it's just finding the standard model, right?
Yeah.
So the data protection model, the anonymization, access controls, and all of that.
So we're all from different cultures, and I want to ask, what role should cross-cultural awareness play in designing an AI-driven mental health solution?
Is that for me?
For diverse teams. Yeah, whoever wants to answer. It's Dr. Chanani is feeling better, you can answer. But it's an open answer. Open question.
Open question. I'll jump in so we can give Dr. Shani more time to recover. So, I mean, culture to me is very important, right? So culture, at the end of the day, we bring in our cultural background, cultural baggage, maybe in some cases, into the way we relate with the world, and we all have our own histories, and we all have our own psychological makeups, for example, our own what do you call it?
Tapestry.
Yeah, there you go. Beautiful word, tapestry, right? I grew up although I was born here, I grew up in Chile. When Chile is a culture that's very risk averse, a culture that's very non-trust, where people don't trust each other, and these things kind of get embedded into your into your makeup, right? So I would want, for example, it's something to me is important to be able to relate with someone that's kind of lived that experience, and go from there. Now, and also cultures where it's interesting is the reverse in that culture in Chile, where stigma is not attached at all to therapy. In fact, people are parties goes, hey, who's your therapist? Who are you seeing? So there's no stigma attached to therapy. But
that's refreshing.
Yeah, isn't it weird? It's interesting.
Refreshing. I love it.
In fact, Chile is got incredible high indices of depression. It's incredible. So everybody seems to be in therapy at some point in time. So there is no stigma attached to that, right? So
me and you, we're going to Chile to promote me time healing. That's our next thing to do.
Yeah. But also has to be, no judgment, right? I talked to a Gen Z. I'm teaching a class in entrepreneurship, right? And she was assisting in the class, and we started talking about therapy, and I don't know how we got on the subject, but we talked about it. She's from Asian descent, and she said she's heard her cohorts go to ChatGPT and basically get therapy. And I said, why are you doing that? Which is horrible that they're doing that, because we know already it's been given horrible hallucinations and wrong answers, and very, very costly health-wise, meant for mental health. And she said, well, why are people doing this? He goes, because it's non-judgmental, right? So I'm like, non-judgmental, but a professional is not supposed to judge and it won't judge. But there's this perception that needs to be eliminated somehow. I don't know. Maybe your industry.
Let's ask Dr. Chanani.
Yeah,
How
your
do we do
industry
that,
needs to
doctor?
figure that out. Need to figure out how to shut that down, because all these Gen Zs and Gen Alphas are coming. So
Yeah, I think.
What's your take on that? First question, cultural nuances. Second question, how to handle the new generation's, worries.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of worries about. Sorry, I'm going to answer that question first, because I think there are a lot of worries about judgment and stigma. And, I think particularly with young adults, right, I think have grown up in an interesting time where, while they talk, I think, a lot more openly about mental health and are much more comfortable with it, their parents' generation wasn't necessarily, right? And I think particularly with some like immigrant backgrounds, it really wasn't talked about. And so they're often, seeking mental health care, when they probably needed it for years, but their parents weren't comfortable with it, or it wasn't talked about. And I think, if they're going to a professional that is older than them, that they are worried, right? Like, is this going to just be like my mom? Are they going to just tell me, tell me to, like, grow up or do this, or give me, some advice? And I think there's a lot of worry. And I think well-trained professionals hopefully don't do that, right? But I think that initial just worry of like getting in the door, so many young people, the first time I see them, they're so anxious about how it's going to go. And then at the end, they're like, this was just so much better than I thought. I thought this was going to be, like an episode of Frasier or something. You're going to make me sit on a couch and like psychoanalyze me. And it's like, that's not what mental health is anymore, right? But there's just all these negative, I think, impressions of it in the media from prior generations. And so I do think, there's a lot more kind of awareness of what it actually is like through things like social media. I think you have to be careful about how mental health care is portrayed on social media, but I do think people kind of sharing their experiences, their positive experiences, I think that will really help. I think people talking with their friends who have had positive experiences, I think that will really help. And, I think like healthcare providers doing like more outreach. So people like, like in things like this or other events. So like, we do a lot of work. I'm in the DC area. We do a lot of work in schools. So you see people that like, oh, these are normal people that I'm going to go talk to, and like, they're nice and like have good intentions. And I think a lot of those things can help. And then I do think working on how it's portrayed in the media can help. And yeah, I think there's a lot of kind of cultural nuance, and I think I do think that's something where, hopefully a good provider can understand that. And a lot of that is just learning from the person you're talking to, and like being open-minded. And I think, like we were talking about earlier, that's one thing where, it can be harder, right, for AI to do something like that.
Yeah. Let me jump in here. So when just to add to what Dr. Chanani was saying, I'm going to bring in my design thinking mindset. And for those that don't know what that is, just Google it. So feedback, right? Put this thing out there, do regular checks on the platform, or in your case, and get constant feedback. And especially new generations, they don't mind giving feedback, right? Good or bad. It's all about reviews and how good these things working. But it's important to get that feedback, because that feedback will let you tailor things and also address questions like this. If the whole thing of a judgment comes up, so why do you feel, it's all about the word feeling, by the way, as you know, Ferry. I'm very big about asking the word feel, not think. Why do you feel that mental health is going to judge you, right? And then go deeper and try to understand, and then ask the question: what could we do to alleviate that, right? So go back to the people and ask those questions,
Absolutely.
as opposed to hiring, Deloitte, whatever, to do it for you. If you have the platform,
KPMG.
yeah, if you have the platform,
Absolutely.
reach out, right? Reach out to them. And I tell you what, a lot of people, most people would gladly talk about it. Look at Reddit. Have you been to Reddit subfolders? People give up their high life stories for any particular subject. So very big on that.
Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
So this question is for both of you, whoever wants to jump in. What's one misconception about AI in mental wellness that you think business leaders need to drop today?
I guess I think we touched on it before.
Yeah, let's highlight it, Andres. Let's highlight it.
We touched on it before that the whole, you can't just set up this chat box or whatever, or hire a vendor and just let it run free, right? You got to be able to understand that the human element is very important. And what I like about we need hybrid solutions, right? So a hybrid AI, like Dr. Chanani said, is it's an enhancement to my delivery of better services, right? It's not the end all be all that's going to eliminate. Unfortunately, a lot of I hate to say this, but the profit motive is very powerful, right? It's become way too powerful, in my opinion. And so these people have, you hear these things about, well, we're eliminating 10,000 jobs because of AI. So there's positive aspects to AI, but at the same time, especially in this industry that you both are in, hyper important that the human element remain forever. So that's it. The misconception that this can be the cure all and you let it run for free no, it's not going to work.
So. I agree with you 100%. Do you want to add some?
Oh, I was going to say
thoughts there.
Yeah, I agree.
You want to add some thoughts? So this question is for you, Doctor. If we fast forward 10 years, what does the ideal AI-human partnership in workplace wellness would look like to you? What are you envisioning?
I think like we're talking about some kind of hybrid approach, right? Where AI helps you enhance what you're doing. It helps reduce administrative burden. It helps make sure, you don't miss things. One of the things we talk about is like, there's a lot of things we do that are very routine. And then there's things that come up that are, not routine and you don't think about them every day. And having AI, maybe remind you like, hey, here's something you should think about. This is not like thinking well, or remind you like, hey, last time you wanted to talk about this, remember to talk about this, right? I think really enhancing your workflow, helping make sure that like, because as providers, we're humans, we forget things, we get caught up in our routines, making sure we're still thinking about all the possibilities when we're seeing a patient, making sure we're remembering to do all the things we need to do, kind of reducing our administrative workload. I think that would be a very kind of ideal picture.
Thank you for sharing that.
I see enhancements also.
Thank you, Gorley.
So there's, any was it Dale Carnegie that said that 80% of the world's problems are caused by miscommunication. There's definitely miscommunication between therapists and clients sometimes, right? I would like to see
people want to hear what they want to hear, Andre.
Yeah, right. But it's important to kind of be do a retro, in Spanish they call it retroalimentación, right? So get back what you said, and also go back and review what your therapist. I mean, I find that therapists have incredible insights sometimes. They're really, especially in the coping side of things, right? So they give you a coping strategy and then you forget it, right? And you don't apply it. So, right, something that AI would feed back.
Homework.
Yeah, exactly. No, AI says, listen, this is what you guys talked about.
My therapist gives me homework all the time. If I don't do it, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. So do that. And also, I think it's going to get to the point where, because there's so much investment going on in processing power for AI, it's just crazy that it's going to become almost like automatic, right? Remember the movie Her? Now,
that was scary.
That was scary, right? But what was so scary about that is that he was dropped. And he just completely dropped day one, all of a sudden. And I think that's a lesson for AI, and the adoption of AI for this is be careful how you threat, right? How do you, and that's where the human element comes in. You can't just give AI all this power and then say, well, I'm tired of talking to you. Bye-bye, can't do that.
So do you see us 10 years later all having a her or him?
Totally. I think so. It's already happening. Look, we have Siri, we have Alexa, and unfortunately, but again,
tools.
As a tool, only as a tool.
Yeah. So after, I want to ask some questions. I want to, see some questions, share them with you, and let's see what we have here. So Twitch has asked, can AI wellness platforms really support employees consistently across very different cultures and health systems, maybe even help build a shared mental health standard? Dr. Chennai, would you like to take that question?
I love that question. That's awesome.
I mean, I think it's like I think that idea of right, consistency is very interesting, right? I think like we're talking about, it might be, I think when we start out, this is going to be better for some people than for others, right? And in some settings than for others. But I think we can hopefully create systems, in the future where it does, I think part of the idea of AI is that it is personalized. It is that it learns from you, right? So I hope that we can get to that point. Yeah.
Andres, would you like to add something since you love the question?
Yeah, I love this. I love that question because, and here's when my kind of my internet background and my this idea of data. If that data and if those insights that people are gaining can be shared in a kind of in a communal way, that will get you going and to what you said, right? Into what's the word you used? So the communal network effect would be very powerful, right? Instead of everything's personalized, everything's kind of structured in pillars, but the results of this stuff can be shared. That's going to normalize across everybody. That's a beautiful idea. Yeah.
Here we have a comment from Gurlane Belazar. The movie Her needs to be revisited. What do you think, Dr. Chennai? What do you think? I definitely believe so. Yes.
I think it was a very interesting movie. I don't. I think like a lot of right. I think like we're talking about, we need to find the right balance of AI. We don't want it to replace like human interaction and social interaction, and I think we're already kind of falling into that with young adults, and I really think we need to make sure we preserve kind of the human touch. So
Absolutely.
I have a comment.
We need to leave a better world to the next generation, and that's where it starts, right?
But you know what we need to do? Let me jump on this because this is a passion, one of my passions. I hate to put it in such terms, but a lot of the young generation are forgetting how to relate. Frankly, conversation skills are not well. So on the other side is push AI, but at the same time kind of retrain our analog minds, to relate better as a human, right? And the other thing that I see in her,
as a professor at George Mason University, I'm sure as an entrepreneur, professor, I'm sure you're seeing this, right?
Oh my
the
God.
effects of it and the pain of it.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Painful
I see it in my
to
class.
watch.
It is painful. It's painful, and I don't mean to put the new generation on the spot, but and I tell you what, not even new generation, even some old generations have forgotten how to, because we're so focused on the profit motive. But what I was going to say is the other one, one of the deficiencies I found in her, which I think could be controlled by humans, is that he became dependent on her, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that I know in therapy, you got to be careful that the person doesn't become dependent on you, right? So, yeah, that's it.
Here's another comment from Gurlane. Remember ancestral intelligence.
Love it. Yeah.
Love it. All right, so we have one more question before we can take one more question. Thank you so much for this conversation. Thank you, Olivia. That was insightful. What's the balance for you between using personal data to provide better care and protecting people's most sensitive information? How about we go with Andres this time?
Let me read that again. What's the balance for you between using personal data to provide better care and protecting people's most sensitive information? So
probably the second one you would want to answer, protecting people's most sensitive information, right? I'm sure as a professor, you have all these liabilities to think about, right, in school.
Yeah, but that's a dilemma. That's the history of the world, right? I mean, that dilemma is not new in the sense, right? When you were, I don't know, when you're around the fire sharing the latest hunting story, right? Maybe there's something you don't want to share, but you got to share enough that the whole group benefits. And I think it's incumbent on every human, because we're not here. I don't want to get too spiritual here, but we are made by our past experiences, ancestral intelligence, right? So it's only fair that we share some of that data, and you should be in control of your data, right? You should say, yep, I'm seeing a therapist. Okay, I'm not seeing the therapist, whatever, right? Or, whatever, or I'm not seeing her 3 times a week, or whatever it is. So I think more and more we're going to be the right to forget, right? We're going to be given the right to really start controlling our data and share it the way we choose to. So I think that balance is tough. It's never going to be perfect, but there should be a motivation.
We're not perfect. Humans are not perfect.
That's right. But there should be an altruistic desire to share data to make everybody better.
Yes.
Right. So,
Dr. Chanani, would you like to take this question also? Because it's a nice question. It applies to your field too.
Yeah, I mean, I think like we were saying right there really is always a balance, and I think protecting people's privacy is very, very important. So I do think, as much as we can strive, as much as we can safeguard that, and also knowing that, like, I do think sometimes younger generations are actually less concerned about this, and like, consent is just a really big part of this. So people also should know, like, if their data is going to be used, how it's going to be used, and like, if someone's okay with that, as long as they understand all the ramifications, right? I think like people do have the right to also like consent to like how their data is used, right?
Yeah, I forgot that concept. Consent. Consent is super important.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that. Yeah.
Well, let me see if we have another question. No, I have great conversation. Thank you so much. And yeah, so is there anything else you guys want to add? I think we talked about so much, and the advantages and disadvantages of AI and the importance of AI. And, as early adopters, we're talking about it. I think harnessing AI is so important in this day and age. And I believe we are opening a new chapter in the history of this planet. It's an exciting chapter. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes. I would say, look, engage with it immediately. Start understanding it better, and the only way to do that is to engage with it. And for vendors like you, I would go to you and say, let's pilot, right? Do pilots. I'm very big on pilots. You know, when you're working with a vendor, I said, let's do a pilot, see how those things go, see how we relate to each other. And so, like, you know, when you start dating, right? You know, you have dinner and whatever, and then so do a little pilot and just engaging and learning how this can be used and see the power of it. And once you see that and it becomes more mainstream, it's going to become a must. You know, something you're going to have to do, because what's going to happen is employees might say, well, you know, they're offering this great service, you're not, so I'm going to go there, right? So
agreed. Anything else you would like to add, Dr. Chinani?
No, I think this has just been a really, really great conversation. So really happy to be part of it.
Feel better.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
Yes, feel better. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know you were not feeling well, but you did it.
You did it. Yes, you came through.
Yeah, you did it.
Guys.
So we're taking home. Exploring AI tools is, you know, the way to go. We need to be open-minded, right? And here I'm wrapping up our conversations. AI is a tool at the end of the day, and we will be using it to improve our lives, make our lives more efficient. And the new product that we will be introducing by the end of this month, AI roadmap by Cara, we will offer it for a period of time for everyone to test it and give us feedback. Andre already did. And we got great feedback from everyone who has been involved with this project. And we're happy to announce that Montgomery County, State of Maryland, Montgomery County has given us a grant, innovation grant, to run with this project. We're so excited, and we're looking forward to new partnerships and, you know, new communities to join our community. So together, we're moving towards the future.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I'm very happy that you guys are part of our goal here, our short-term, long-term goal. Thank you, Dr. Chinani, for being part of our care team and always ringing the bell when we need to be put back on our rail. And thank you, Andres, for always being there, mentoring me, giving me the wise, background that you have, sharing your experiences, and being a true friend. I appreciate it.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for having us. It was beautiful.
Yep. Thank you.
Until next time.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.